I need a DM that can handle me.
Welcome to the Twisted Pint Tavern. A few days ago, I found a wandering goblin camped out behind the tavern, and instead of calling the town guard, I figured I'd just invite him in so we could share a few stories. So today, Loot Goblin and I are diving into Reddit to see what phrases come out of players that might turn out to be problematic later on.
Hey guys, Loot Goblin, happy to be here.
Loot Goblin makes amazing narrations and other D&D content, and we've also worked on a video together that's going up on his channel. So when you're done watching this video, make sure to go check out the one on his channel by either clicking the link in the description or the card at the end of the video. Anyway, let's get into these problem players. But it's in my backstory. I have the OP thing. You have to let me have the OP thing for free or it won't make any sense. And what's happening again? Normally spoken after looking up from their phone when told it's their turn. And they demand lots of stuff they would never allow if they were GMing. I've luckily never had anybody say, I need this really OP thing for my character. Sometimes they bring in homebrew or something that they want to use, but I don't have a lot of players just dive into, I need this super powerful class or super powerful item to run my character from level 1, luckily.
Yeah, no, luckily I haven't had that. I did have one person insist he had an ancient dragon as his best friend, and he kept trying to call him like it was divine intervention, which might be just as bad.
Yeah, it changes things up a little bit early game.
Yeah, no, your normal level 3 thing, just calling the dragon, smite your foes.
I mean, I have had people pull the whole, I'm low level and my character has these powers because of this really strong connection to somebody, and sometimes they want to try to pull that in, but luckily, most of the players that I run with are pretty understanding of, you're level 3, take a chill pill.
You know, I definitely say that in terms of items, I tend to be, you know, as a Loot Goblin myself, a little stingy handing them out. I try to tie them to the character, but it seems like when someone wants to make one tied to their backstory, they definitely invent a lot more features than you'd find on your normal magic item. I don't know why my character would be here. As a busy adult pre-session 0, I make sure that players are all in agreement about the overall campaign. By session 0, I want a rough first adventure planned out. If the players all think it's fine, their number one requirement is to make a PC who would do that adventure with a group. I'd rather them all be chaotic evil and just do the damn adventure than a bunch of badass loners who just sit on the sidelines waiting to see how things play out. I don't have time to do 6 hours of prep and sit around not playing the game. And this is a totally fair take. I've definitely had a few people, it's like kind of the, you know, the pretentious actor where it's like, what's my motivation? It's like, well, you want to play the game, that's your motivation.
Yeah. They pause the whole role play to be like, hey, just real quick, why am I here? What's my emotion right now? Just role play it. I mean, and I get if your character wouldn't 100% be involved with every plot point, but I feel like there's the mutual understanding between DM and players of when the DM introduces plot point number 1, the best practice is to probably go with it. If you don't know why your character would be there, maybe the reason is simply, I was present when the town was attacked, so that's why I'm helping fight. Like, there's 1,000 reasons why you could be there. You just have to think one up for the time being.
Yeah, and the classic example of, like, you know, the person saying, oh, the big bad evil guy is so much cooler, or like, let me betray the party to join them because, like, my character would want that. It's like, well, he wants to stab you, so that's not really an option. Sorry, man.
Yeah. When they don't tell the DM something because the DM is the enemy. I hate when people think the DM is the enemy. Look, I want you to succeed just as much as you want you to succeed. Sometimes, yeah, I want the big bad to land a good solid hit on the fighter. Like that's satisfying. But I'm never as the DM against my players. And if they want to keep something from me because of a secret plan so that I'm not subconsciously changing something, that can be a case-by-case thing, but just holding massive things back because you don't want the DM to use it against you, you're just limiting your own involvement in the story.
Yeah, and it kind of shows like a narrow scope of how the players view the game, because obviously he's all the allies as well as all the enemies, and for that matter, any neutral party, really.
And he's a player at the table. That's the other important thing, is if you treat him like he's an outsider, the DM's not going to have a ton of fun.
Yeah, but maybe, you know, it's like a make the DM quit any % run. Like, they're doing a speedrun challenge, he's trying to play D&D. You know, they just want to ruin his day.
Yeah, make the DM quit DMing, speedrun any %.
Yeah, if the DM quits, I mean, if the DM's your enemy, him quitting's literally the only end game, because, like, he's everything, so what are you really doing?
Or the player quitting, which, in my experience, happens a lot more often.
Definitely. Within 2 seconds of the campaign starting, I'll kill everyone in town. The first round of the very first combat encounter, I roll a history check to know this creature's weak point and get advantage. Nope, no you don't. I knew within 2 minutes that this player was going to be a problem, and they proved it several times over. So what do you think of that one? Because I think I'll kill everyone in town, very clear murder hobo tendencies. The second one is a little more interesting.
The first one is classic murder hobo. If that's the game you're running, that's the game you're running. But the second one, I'm for players trying to get to know weak points of creatures. I don't like when they try to call a specific thing like, hey, I'm going to roll this check, and if I succeed, you're going to give me advantage. It's like, no, if you want to see if you can gain a benefit from your knowledge of this creature, and you're asking if you might have that knowledge and you want to roll for it, that's different. But just straight up saying, hey, I want advantage because my character might, on a nat 20, know that this bird has this weakness. It's like, I don't really think that asking for that specific scenario is the best practice at the table.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I think it's really just calling the shot is the problem there. The idea of like, hey, I want to do something's always fine to ask. It's to the assumption that you're already correct. You've already decided what's going to play out.
Right, because I would run it this way in my game. This is how it's going to run in your game. It's like, nah, not quite, bud. Not a bad player, but bad for me to play alongside, are the ones who can't possibly fathom a character going against the norm for any aspect of their build. A Dex Paladin? Insane. A Strength Rogue? Not possible. A Wizard not taking every single most powerful spell? Why even play? I had a player who literally couldn't comprehend why my rogue had expertise in nature and insight instead of stealth and thieves tools, and the answer was backstory and thematics. And then this reply, why is your warlock not focus optimized for Eldritch Blast spam? Frustrates the heck out of me. There's so much interesting narrative space with the warlock. I love building characters that do go a bit against their norm. First off, Dex Paladin is a surprisingly solid build.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, there's stuff like the Barbarian tank that like taunts people from a distance. There's different builds for that. There's a lot of different things you can get out of playing something slightly different. I mean, I always would play Int Fighters, for example. They can be a lot of fun, especially in 3.5 when they had all those maneuvers and feats for it.
I have a buddy who refuses, any warlock he plays, he refuses to take Eldritch Blast for the cantrip because he hates that trope so much. There's a lot of variation you can do with warlocks, and while Eldritch Blast is powerful, it does not mean that that's all a warlock can do.
Yeah, it's very much in the same vein of like the wizard cast fireballs like syndrome, where everything's either a meta magic enhancing fireball or just some other like variant of picking whatever the S tier is in every level. Because like we all know what the better spells are, but just because it's the better spell 9 times out of 10, 1, the gimmick might be good, especially for that campaign, and 2, like at a certain point, if you already know how the next 10 combats are going to play out, that's really not fun for anyone. All these answers are why Dungeon Masters should do a session 0 with all players to make sure everyone's on the same page about what kind of game they're playing and what kind of characters they want to play. Yeah, I think session 0 just straight up's mandatory. If nothing else, you need like some kind of like, either make a Google Forms questionnaire or just ask people questions. You have to have some idea of what people are expecting, because what I've learned is D&D means a lot of things to a lot of people. And this is just like basic bookkeeping to make sure it starts off well.
Yeah, when I first started, and for a while, I never did session 0s, but it's because I was mostly playing with, like, at school with friends and such. We knew what kind of games each other liked. So when I started branching out and playing D&D with people that I didn't know from like game stores and such, that's when I really realized how important session 0s were.
Yeah, and just with the prevalence of stuff like Roll20 too, there's even like another degree of separation. So in the games shop, you might even have the opportunity to chat once or twice. Roll20, it's usually very blind. I need a DM that can handle me. When I hear this, it usually means they need a therapist or a restraining order.
Yeah, this one is hilarious to me because first off, if you're saying I need a DM that can handle me, you are putting up a beacon saying that you are a nightmare to play with. Not that you're just role-playing and being chaotic or that you're a min-maxer, not like that. You're straight up saying, oh, well, I've had a lot of DMs in the past that have given up because of me because I'm just that cool of a player. I'm willing to bet it's not the DMs that are the problem.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like essentially you almost say like, oh, I broke this DM. It's like, yeah, congrats. When you break the DM, the game ceases. It's not an accomplishment.
I honestly, there are a lot of things that I will try to talk to somebody about and make sure we're on the same page before going into a game. But I think I need a DM that can handle me is one of those sentences that would probably just say, sorry, bud, this ain't the table for you.
Yeah, it's one thing to say like, I need a DM that can, maybe help me realize this character. Like, yeah, if you're a newbie or something, or you're just trying something interesting. But yeah, this is not it.
Of course the DM would make some BS up to kill us, or the DM failed to kill us again. We win! This goes back to the DM is not your enemy. I mean, first off, if the DM's making things up on the spot to try and make a combat harder, that's balancing on the fly. Unless they're actually buffing the enemies up to kill you, I mean, that's a different scenario. But just trying to homebrew something on the fly to make a combat more tense is totally fine. And gloating that the DM failed to kill you again, I've run games where the players are like never at risk of death because of how good they play, and I never think that that's a problem that needs fixed. I'll make things tougher if I can, if I feel like that's needed, but I'm never out there just to kill the players. So if they are constantly surviving because of proper resource management and teamwork, then that's nothing that needs fixed. That's them doing well.
I know Gary Gygax, for example, made adventures like Tombs of Horrors, which was known as like a bit of a meat grinder, known to like kill people on purpose. But the thing is, they all signed up for it. It's fun. There's certain settings that are harder, certain settings that are lighter. It's based off the preferences of the player and the DM.
Well, and a lot of people dunk on the old Gygaxian stuff. And first off, look, I started playing with my dad's old 2nd edition books, so it's a little nostalgic, but also D&D was different back then. Now the roleplay is so much heavier in it. Back when Tomb of Horrors was coming out, D&D was a war game for the most part. Like, you went in to deal damage and have damage dealt to you. That was the primary function of D&D with some role-playing elements.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. So it's one of those things where you're like mocking the DM for trying to kill you. I don't know. Like, it seems like maybe there's just a mismatch or a miscommunication. My character is a 900-year-old wizard. I don't know, that's not a red flag immediately, unless it's like some kind of weird harem anime maybe, and it's going a way we don't want it to go.
I think the problem that comes from this one is, like, on its own, it's absolutely not an issue. There feels like there should be a second line following this saying, my character is a 900-year-old wizard, and he knows every spell in the book and has become the master mage of the region, but I'm starting him at level 1 for this game. That's just hard to do, because if you're a 900-year-old all-powerful wizard, why are you starting over with shield and magic missile?
Although I do like the idea of an academy wizard who, because of like the magic of the location he's in, like he is ageless and he's just flunked that many times. So that could be a funny twist on this.
That, and I played a game once where this person played a senile wizard who had like their backstory was, I did get to level 20 with spells and everything, but as I've gotten older, I've lost my mind, and so they're just this senile old man who, through rediscovering the magic and such, is starting to put pieces back together and regain their memories, and that's how they flavored that they were learning spells instead of just plucking them out of thin air. They were like, oh, I remember how to do this. And I thought that was a really cool way to play a wizard that was super powerful, but just got bumped back down to level 1. I feel like that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, as long as you, the DM and the party, kind of know what the gimmick is, and you never really get like a clear advantage off like this funny gag. I think gag characters like this can always be a fun implementation.
Yeah, so 900-year-old wizard, not an immediate red flag for the character. It just depends on what they plan to do with said 900-year-old wizard. D&D Beyond says the monster's vulnerable to fire damage, so everyone, use fire. There's metagaming with like knowledge you've picked up over time and you accidentally slip it in, like that happens every now and then, but if you're looking up the stat block of the monster as you're fighting it to get an advantage, that's just cheating at the game. It's hard to cheat at D&D, and that is one of the rare ways that you can cheat at D&D.
Yeah, I think that's a good call out. Specifically saying D&D Beyond says too is kind of a tell where it's like, yeah, I don't really care what the DM wants. I care what like is like the meta thing. So like this is just textbook metagaming, and really it's as simple as the DM saying, oh yeah, this variant of trolls, it's not vulnerable to this thing.
Yeah, I actually, a lot of times I'll modify stat blocks that I use just a little bit to avoid this. And it makes it to where I actually have the freedom to use the stat blocks exactly as they are. But my players, not that I have anyone that actively is looking things up, but they've learned that looking things up doesn't help them, because you never know if the monster's going to be as it's written in the book or if it's slightly homebrewed.
I think some of it leans into the fact that people have played so much Tolkien-esque fantasy settings that they make a lot of assumptions, and a lot of them do carry over, and that's totally cool. But when you do have a unique setting and you have a unique spin, it kind of diminishes it when the players are like, no, you're wrong, I know how vampires work, actually.
Right, yeah, you're playing Curse of Strahd and they're pulling out all these vampire things from different sources, and it's like, yeah, some of those are valid, a lot of them aren't. Good luck.
You know, Strahd really likes pumpkin spice and garlic bread.
Yeah, exactly. Strahd's actually, the only Starbucks in Barovia is at the foot of his castle, actually, if you didn't know that.
Yeah, so none of that stuff's gonna work for you guys, sorry.
Yeah, no. A huge thanks again to Loot Goblin for working on this video with me, and don't forget to check out the video we did for his channel by using either the link in the description or clicking this card in the corner right now. But anyway, that's gonna do it for today's video. Loot Goblin, it's been a blast. Thanks for coming by.
Loved reading the stories with you guys. Thanks for having me by, and I hope to stop by this tavern again soon.
If you guys haven't already, make sure to click the like and subscribe buttons and click the bell so you can be notified of all future tavern videos. Don't forget to check out Loot Goblin's channel page, and I'll see all of you wonderful tavern goers in the next video. Hey, let's go ahead and wipe the Goblin's tab. His drinks are on the house tonight.